Last time we were here together, we covered the axial skeleton. This time, we'll be covering the appendicular skeleton. In my opinion, the appendicular skeleton is a little easier to digest because it has a lot of repeated structure that you'll notice. Just like the axial, it all seems intimidating at first, but you'll find that it's actually fairly simple once explained. And once you've got the placements and proportioning down, you'll notice your structure within your artwork improve as well. Remember that in order to draw what's on the skin, it's best to learn what's underneath it. But if it's your first time here, make sure you check out the link in the description to part 1 of this series. So, appendicular skeleton, named as such because appendicular means appendage, right? The appendages of the body, which are the arms and legs, right? Like I said, like last time, the axial skeleton, it's on the axis. It is the center of the body, right? It is on the medial axis, but this time it's appendicular, so it is our appendages, right? These are the parts of the skeleton that come in pairs. And last time I said the axial skeleton do not come in pairs. It's kind of just one of each bone, but in this case, with the appendicular skeleton, it is all the parts of the skeleton that actually come in pairs. Alright, so like I said, it is our arms and legs. You'll actually find that when I teach this one, you'll find that the structure for both of these sets of bones are really, really similar. The structure for your arms mimics the structure for your legs, and vice versa as well. So that makes it easier to remember both. Okay, we're gonna start with the arms. Alright, because realistically, when you know one, you know the other, but we're going to start with the arms. Okay, so this first part of the skeleton here, this is called the clavicle, this is called the scapula. And what we're going to do is we are going to color code these notes off to the side. So the clavicle and the scapula both make up a thing called the shoulder girdle, and the shoulder girdle is a structure that holds your arms in place. Okay, so this is what holds your arms in place, right? This is the structure that makes your arms attached to the body. The clavicle attaches between your sternum and your rib cage, that kind of thing, right? And then the scapula glides along the back of your rib cage. You can feel it. So if you push your shoulders back, everybody can do this right now. If you push your shoulders back and try and touch your back, you'll sort of feel a hard part of your back move around. If you grab one arm, put your hand on your back, and then move the other arm, you can feel your rib cage moving around. You can feel your scapula. On the other hand, if you take your hands and you touch the area right between your neck and your shoulders, you'll be able to feel your clavicle, right? That is a bone that kind of wraps around your neck. That is your clavicle. And you notice they wrap around your entire back. You'll actually be able to feel a really hard portion on the top of your shoulder as well. That's called the acromion process. We're not going to label that, but that's the place where your clavicle and your scapula connect. That's right here, right? So the shoulder girdle is the structure that holds your arms in place. You want to think of it like the metal rings of a chandelier, right? You know how you have like chandelier and you've got a bunch of stuff hanging off of like those rings of the chandelier? That initial metal ring, that is the shoulder girdle. You can think of your arms as the ornaments hanging off of that metal ring. No extra explanation needed. It's the humerus, it's our upper arm. But humerus is not the thing that I'm going to explain a little bit more of. This little section right here is what I'm going to explain more of. The humerus is attached to the scapula using something called a ball and socket joint. With that, what it looks like is you have a little socket and you have a little ball like this, and it connects in. It's almost like if you take your fist and you make a cup with your other hand, you kind of move your fist around in the cup of your hand. That is what this joint looks like, ball and socket. And the little cup part of this joint is called a fossa. Right? You've got a bunch of different fossa on your body. The really prominent ones are the ones for your arms, the ones for your legs, right? But you've got a lot of those kinds of connectors. In fact, along your entire spine, if you've never seen how your spinal cords connect, this I could have talked about last stream, but I didn't because it's more prominent this one. There are these funny little shapes that are along each one of your spinal pieces. They kind of look like this, if I remember correctly. And when you go up and down your spine, they all sort of connect together like this, with like your cartilage and your stuff in between, and these are fossa as well, and they kind of connect together like little Lego pieces using these strange little suction cup shaped bone pieces. If you're more of a reader, you can check out my notes in both the axial and the appendicular skeletons in the link in the description. The forearm, that is what the radius and ulna is part of. The way that we're going to get into the legs as well at some point. The way that you remember which bone is facing on the medial side, the inner side of the body, it's the ulna and the tibia, which we will get to. There's a university here in Canada called U of T. So they're like, just remember U of T and you'll remember that the ulna and the tibia are on the inside of the body. So that was how we were told to remember. The radius and ulna cross over each other when we twist our arm. It is hilarious to watch. It is the strangest thing to ever, right? It is super funny to watch your arm sort of cross over itself, because you're like, why do our bones do that? Why? Don't know. But yes, when you twist your arm over, so this pose that I'm going to be working with is called the anatomical pose, which means it is facing directly forward, both palms facing up, feet forward, and planted on the ground, right? It is a very specific pose that makes it the anatomical pose or not. And in this case, if they are uncrossed, it is your palms facing up. It is supination. So that means that your bones are uncrossed. So if your palms are facing downwards, your bones are twisted, dude. The radius and ulna are only untwisted when our palms are facing upwards, but they remain twisted when we put our arms down. Just remember to supination. So supination is when your palms are facing upwards. Pronation is when your palms are facing downwards. The way you remember it, if you want to hold a bowl of soup, you got to put your palm upwards. And then pronation is just the other one. So you just got to remember the other word. But yeah, bones. All right. It's the part that I knew the least about because there were a lot of bones and I didn't really want to memorize all of them. And I had them memorized for my exam, and then I kind of forgot all of them the second that I left that university room. But it's okay. As long as I generally know it's here, that's the important part. And I know what they're all called, so that's also the important part, I think. All right, the wrist and the hand. These are made up of the carpals, the metacarpals, and the phalanges. All right, the carpals, your wrist. All right, you feel the carpals. The carpals are your wrist, right? You move your wrist around, you can kind of feel all those little bones moving around. The metacarpals, that's in your palm, right? You can feel the ends of the metacarpals at your knuckles, right? You can feel where your metacarpals and your phalanges connect at your knuckles. And I just spoiled it for you, the phalanges. All of the knuckles of your fingers, those are where each bone of the phalange connects. And you also notice that the phalanges, the bone feels very prominent at the top of your finger, not so much on the bottom. The majority of your muscle in your fingers is at the underside of your fingers. So that's why if you draw your fingers, that's why I say the bean method works really well, because it gives you a better idea of where those bones protrude. Carpals, metacarpals, phalanges. You've got these fun little joints going on down there. And this is the shoulder girdle, right? This is what makes up the entire sort of structure of our shoulders, right? Of our arm bones. The pelvic girdle, right? It is the same as the arms. It's like the thing that holds the chandelier together, right? We've got our little bone structure here, and that is what is holding the chandelier together. It's two bones, and then it holds the rest of the structure as if it's a chandelier. Exact same structure, right? These big guys right here, these are the femur, which is our thigh bone. No explanation needed for that. It's the thigh bone, right? Nothing too special when it comes to that, right? The femur is connected to the pelvis with the exact same type of connection that the arm has, right? It is a ball and socket joint, right? It is the exact same type of joint. The difference is that the pelvic fossa, those are super, super deep into the body by comparison to the arm ones, right? So the arms, your arms are a lot more likely to break because that connection is a lot less stable. But on the other hand, your arms have a much wider range of motion by comparison to your legs because this fossa is more deep by comparison to this one. This one's almost like you have a ball gliding on like a plate or like a shallow bowl, and this one is like a deep soup bowl or a mug, and then you're putting like a marshmallow in it, right? So the thigh bone is really, really deep in there. You have a wide range of motion, but not as wide as your arms. This is the knee bone. All right, the knee bone keeps your legs from overextending, okay? You've definitely played with your patella before. If you are ever just kind of sitting on the ground and you've been pushing around your knee bone, and you can kind of feel it like wobbling on the top of your legs, right? That's your patella. That's what that tiny little bone is. And this little bone that's put in place there is what makes sure that your calf bones, your tibia, your fibula, those don't overextend in the wrong direction, right? So if you have a broken patella, you're done for, right? You really gotta get that fixed. This is our calf bones. By comparison to the radius and ulna, the tibia and the fibula have a much smaller range of movement. So no, the tibia and fibula do not cross over each other when you rotate. They have a slight bit of rotation, but they cannot rotate like our arms can, right? So these bones are really not flexible. The way that you remember which one is the tibia and the fibula, my prof told me this. She was just like, every single time you say tibia, you say tibia. And every time you say fibula, you say fibula. And you remember which one is which. Which, you know, she's right. I have never forgotten it. So it's the tibia is the bigger one, right? And the fibula is the smaller one. Okay, the tibia is on the inside, the fibula is on the outside, right? And again, the Canadian university called U of T, it's the ulna and the tibia that are on the medial side, the inner side of the body. The ulna and the tibia, the U of T, right? That's how we were told to remember it. Again, Canadian college, Canadian university, right? Your foot bones. You have your tarsals, your metatarsals, and your phalanges, right? So your foot ankle bones, they are structured the exact same as your arms, right? And you notice, now that we have done the entire skeleton, the structure of your shoulder girdle is pretty much exactly the same as the structure as your pelvic girdle, okay? Your shoulder girdle, we start off with a girdle structure. Then we go into the big individual bones, which goes into two smaller bones, which then goes into a bunch of little bones. Okay? The farther out you go into your extremities, the smaller and smaller your bones get, and the more of you that they've got, right? And they're pretty much the exact same structure starting from the shoulder girdle down, right? The farther, the more to your extremities you get, they pretty much follow the exact same structure. They're just called different things. Isn't that interesting? Isn't that fun? It's technically the same topic that I was working with this time, so I figured if the lessons were going to be a mini-series, then why not let the demos be a mini-series too, right? Instead of working with just a rib cage out in the open, though, I had the thought of x-ray water, you know, where the submerged part of the water would be where the skeleton peeks out this time. That's it. That's all the thought I put into it. Like, that's literally it. There's nothing different by comparison to last time. I just wanted to draw something I thought would be cool, and I wanted to draw my partner's D&D character again, so, you know, just repeat the same process twice. The toughest part about this one, though, was the head angle, I think. When you work with more fantasy characters and creatures, you've got things like oddly shaped ears or body parts that you have to work with in perspective that won't usually have photo reference, realistically. So a lot of the time, you have to make an educated guess for how it'll look from another angle. That's why it's important to learn how to think within a three-dimensional space so that your subjects feel weighty and they feel real. Looking back on this one now, though, his nose should not be showing, and even less of his eyes should be visible, but, you know, we live and learn, right? But if you want to watch this whole thing in real time, be sure to check out the original live stream, link in the description. If you'd prefer to see this lesson in full, check out the full live stream lesson done in real time, link in the description. Here's a couple other videos you can check out next.